Welcome back to the Chow Time Pod. It's your host Red. I got a video today from Tech Lead. This is a video on power law, how pretty much everybody is running on this law and why nice people / nice guys are not winning in the world because they are going about the world differently than how the world actually goes about. So please like, subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to that chow. It's chow time.
All right, welcome back with the ex-Google Tech Lead. This is going to be one of the more important videos I will make because it really explains how to live your life properly. One thing I learned once I acquired some money is I stopped being so nice all the time. And some people may say I'm even kind of mean. And I want to explain to you really how the world works and why I realized even so late in my life now that I have been living life the wrong way this entire time. You see, the thing is most people are not nice, kind, or fair people like you may imagine them to be. They could be complete monsters. Or
I agree with. Like, I'm not a Marxist, but I do agree with, like, most people are inherently greedy and evil. It's through society is why they become good. Most people are out for themselves.
Or just out to get whatever they can from you. And you need to understand this, that there is no nice or mean. There's no right or wrong. Rather, like, let's define what is right or wrong. That is something actually that is defined by the rules, right? By the government law, right? We don't actually define that usually ourselves. So I think there's three ways we can define this. One is by government law. And you know, this is what's going to be written in the US Constitution or in the law books about what is right, what's wrong. What happens when you steal something? Do you get a fine? Do you go to jail? Do you get even a death penalty? In some countries, even spitting gum on the street will get you a fine. In the US, it's okay to carry guns. In other countries, you're forbidden from doing that. So right or wrong is really something that is defined by local jurisdiction and the government that you're in, the society.
See, this part right here, he's correct, but in the US, it's not quite that way because women have a different set of laws that they're run by. You know, when two people commits a crime, logically, to be fair, you would give them both the same kind of sentence. But when it comes to a man and a woman, we've always softened our view and given women less sentencing, less repercussions for these actions.
Isn't it offsetting? Isn't it creepy to you that most of us have absolutely no moral sense of what is actually fair? What's right or what's wrong? Rather, we're unthinking beasts who have absolutely zero sense of morality and define what is right and wrong based on the legal justice system put forth by our local governments. You know, like, you take a look at Edward Snowden in the US, he's a criminal, a fugitive who people don't even want to mention his name for fear of social isolation. Meanwhile, over in Russia, he's just a normal, welcome citizen who's just living his daily life. And people.
This can be said for passport bros. Passport bros in the West, we're seen as pedophiles, we're seen as unwanted, we're seen as, you know, all these things. But in another country, we're seen as viable mates. That's the difference.
People are glad to be friends with him over there. And so this is what I would call government law, where people operate on a rules-based society in an unthinking fashion. Over here in Japan, actually, that's how most people act, right? People just follow rules really well here. But do they actually think about what they're really doing, the moral and social consequences, the fairness of anything? No, they're just kind of following the rules by the playbook. It's policy, sir. Sorry, it's the protocol that we do here. Now, in addition, there's also a second way in which we might behave. I would call it.
It's funny because we make fun of people like that, like the rule followers. You know, they were a set of rules, especially at like jobs. You know, some of us get a little whatever about it and, you know, things don't go our way. We're asking for something and the person says can't do it because they have to go through a certain method to handle it for you, but it's not to your liking. But morally, yeah, maybe they could do it better or faster for you. But the rule states that they have to go to use this protocol. So their moral compass doesn't decide whether they're going to help you or not. It's what the protocol they have to follow is what they have to follow.
This moral law, and this is typically the way I behave, where I just operate on my own sense of fairness, right? What's right, what's wrong. And that's not going to be written by the government, but you know, when you're dealing with friends and acquaintances or family, you just kind of do what you think is right or fair. And there may not be a law book for everything. So for example, say you've got 2 bottles of water, you've got a friend, you might just give your friend a bottle of water because it's the right thing to do. It's
Yeah.
fair, right? Everybody's thirsty, you give your friend a bottle. And we'd like to appeal to our own sense of being a good person when we do moral law. But you know what? I realize that most people out there are not operating under any sense of moral law or right
No,
or wrong or fairness. People are
I agree with him. This is why I think the way I thought, like I'm not Marxist or anything, but the thought process that Karl Marx did, so that everybody's inherently evil and out for themselves. I kind of agree with that. Most people are, or it's not like they're not. It's them and their kin. Everything is about them and their kin, which makes sense to me, right? Because if it's between you and your family member, you're going to always, you're going to, between a random stranger and a family member, you're almost always going to choose the family member over that random stranger.
Are just taking whatever they can out there. And this is a third type of law, which I would call power law. And power law is the most important thing you need to understand about the way the world operates. When you take a look at the Twitter mob, for example, cancel culture, this is power law, where people just silence other people, there's censorship, and people are just saying, shut the F up, I don't want to hear you, I'm going to just dominate and win and take control and power because I can.
Yep.
Why not? That is power law, and that is how the world operates. Nobody's out there trying to be fair or kind or to do the right thing. There's no justification, no explanation. If somebody finds 2 bottles of water, they just say, I'm going to drink both, instead of sharing it with you, even though that may be the right thing to do, the morally conscious right thing to do. What type of person does this? Narcissists, people in power, politicians, people who can, company bosses, CEOs. They'll just fire you because they can and they're the ones in control. And that's what you realize. See, most of us start in a position of weakness where we have no power, so we have to be fair to one another, but throughout our lifetimes, we acquire power.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement. When we're younger, we're powerless. So we have to treat everybody kind of equal. We treat everybody, pretty well off. But once we acquire a certain amount of power, things are quite different. You view things differently.
And the ability to dominate others, and many people who acquire that power just ultimately lose any sense of fairness or equality to anybody around themselves, and they just seize control. And you may see like elder siblings, they may do this. You may even see spouses dominate one another over time as they acquire more and more power within a relationship, until they just say, I'm just gonna take this. Why? Because I can. I just want it. What do we have for lunch? Instead of saying, well, what would you like today because I chose yesterday, they'll just say, for lunch today, I want this. And tomorrow, I want that. And then I'll have, a burger the next day. And they're just going to get their way all the time because that is the norm for them. And maybe for me, this is a bit shocking because I've always grown up with a very strong sense of equality and fairness to the people around me. And by nature, for me personally, I have a very strong sense of fairness. But
Same.
I realize that most people out there have no intention of being fair at all. And it makes sense.
That's the important thing right there, right? That the people out there in the world, the women, the men, don't intend to be fair about anything. They intend to get what they can from the situations. So it's not inherently wrong for these women to want the best that they can. It's not inherently wrong for us to want the best that we can by going overseas, right? But there's always some kind of battle between right and wrong, but it doesn't matter. Whoever's in power is going to take whatever they want or do what they want. So if right now women are in power in a sense, so they have a lot more leeway and they take a lot more because they can and they will, right? Women can get away with a lot. Why? Because they can and they got that power to be able to do it. Is it right or fair for them to do it? No, not really, but they can. Once you have the ability to do something, it's very hard to not exercise that ability.
It's too, right? Most of us are not logical or rational beings. Logic and rationality really appeal to moral law, whereas in reality, people are just doing whatever they want and self-rationalizing that later on, however they can. Maybe they just say they deserve it because they're better than everybody else.
Women, they say that they deserve it because why? They're women. In a sense, yeah, I'm better than you.
else. So what do we do about all this then, with the assumption that everybody out there is operating under power law, taking whatever they can with no consideration for you? Well, you need to not assume that anybody's going to do what's right or what's fair. And
Right?
you need to actually maintain some power because everybody's worldviews are totally warped.
This is why simping doesn't work. You always need to maintain a power dynamic. Why? Because people will walk all over you. This is why the younger generation is just getting destroyed. They're just getting walked on. They're getting all of this kind of treatment because they have no moral compass or moral being to want to fight it.
You know, as they say, a good king is a fair king, but in order to be a fair king, you still need to be king. Otherwise, people are going to trample over you.
Exactly.
Now, for you to properly execute under power law, you need to either not care about other people or you need to have an extremely high sense of self-confidence. But
this is why self-confidence is a big thing, man. It is a part of a power dynamic between you and the world and how people view everything. You know?
if you're kind of just the wishy-washy, just open-minded, open to everything type of person, like
this is why the liberals they don't stand on anything. They accept everything. They're very open-minded. Oh, well, if they do this, oh, that's okay. You know, that's them. I can't say anything about it. But even though in their sense it's morally wrong, they might not want to say anything about it because
hey, what do you want for lunch? Yeah, tell me what you want and, let's just like think about it. Then you're going to lose to the other people who are going to be dominating you because they're all also operating under power law. You need to take a stand, basically. And you need to assert your beliefs on how you believe the world should look like. You need to take a hand in actively shaping that world instead of letting the world shape whatever you.
Powerful statement. You need to shape your own morals and your own internal guidance. And then go about the world that way. Don't let the world shape your moral compass and guidance.
You are. And with that power, once you've attained it, you can perhaps shape the world into whatever it is you think it should look like. Whether you want to be a fair king or a greedy king, I'm sure you will self-rationalize it one way or another, and you will define what is right and what is wrong, because that is all subjective and relative in the end. And basically what it means is next time people ask you what you want for lunch, you just say what it is you want and you dominate that conversation. I mean, quite possibly. Now, there is one more way. I would call it social law, which can potentially be more powerful than even power law, but there's a lot of risk involved in which you're just trying to be kind to people and you ask nicely and you hope that they reciprocate back. The problem is many people will not reciprocate, but if you can get people to be kind back to you, you will get their commitment and devotion to really helping you on your journey through life. And that's really what you want. It's the difference, you could say, between a committed yes and a hesitant, reluctant yes, which is what you get with power law. Now, while I'm on this topic, I want to conclude this discussion with some of the problems with government law, which most of us operate under, where our sense of fairness is decided by the government rulebooks, where we can say, I'm going to just be super mean to you and super rude to you. As long as I'm not breaking any laws, it's okay. I'm just going to bully you all the time. And this is, I think, why we get so many school shootings and violence out there, in the workplace, everywhere, because when people disagree with government law, they will take the law into their own hands and just execute on that, quite literally. And the problem is, just because it is legal for you to do something does not mean it is the right thing to do. And you know what's funny? Going on a set.
Just because you can do something doesn't make it right, right? Just like when we ask these women when they take advantage of men for these, foodie calls, or they only want men for their money and then use men for their money. Doesn't mean it's legal in a sense, but is it morally correct? This is what men always seem to ask, and women always just say, as long as I get the bag.
Here, cryptocurrency is going to change so much of this because our government law these days depends so much on financial control. You do something wrong, you pay a penalty, you pay some fine, because punishing people through fines is such an easy, lazy way. If you park in the wrong place, you get fined. Well, with cryptocurrency, they say there's no more financial control. If someone parks in the wrong place, you may not even be able to find these people for even a penny because you don't have their keys, not your coins, and who knows, in the future, maybe everybody will have all of their financial assets in cryptocurrency, such that financial control doesn't even work at all anymore. And you just have to find other more creative ways to penalize people, like maybe say, hey, you got to wash dishes for them for a week or something like that. And who knows, maybe this will turn the entire legal system on its head, where one day the idea of even taking somebody's money will sound as barbaric as taking somebody's eye for an eye. But that'll do for me. Let me know your thoughts on power law. See you in the comments below. If you liked the video, give a like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.
Well, Tech Lead hit some awesome points with this power law. You know, like, I've never heard it referred to this before, but he's right. It's the dynamic of power. Whoever has power over another almost always exercise that power. And good people, nice people, just expect people to not wield these powers. But yet, majority of people do. And this is why the nice guy, the simping doesn't work. You've given up your power. You need your own power to be able to combat what's out there, right? Please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys next time. It's chow time.